In this video, we're going to explore the before and after selector elements of a item here. And this can be very useful because with the before and after, you can play around with buttons and links, give it some more effect, but also just basic elements such as the paragraph, etc., etc. And this is fun. To be honest, when I started out with this, I didn't understand this, so I ignored this as much as possible. But as you progress, you will notice that these things, and right now, as more and more animation is being applied to a website, it becomes very good to use this and it's more interactive. So let's start and explore. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to make a very straightforward menu bar here. And what I want to do is here, after I want to use the before and after to explore them and use them to make exciting links that have a bit more interaction on it. So let's start and explore here. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make here a section. And this section, I'm going to put in here a, this is what we call the logo div. So div class logo. And in here, we're going to put in the href, which will be a hashtag here. And then we say here, item, that's the closing tag, and then an img, and in here we have source, and I have a source already here, which is piggybanker.png. I've used it quite often. It's a quite nice one, so we have this here. So once we have this, we're going to do next one is the unordered list, or basically we can skip that. We can do the nav tag here, and then what we do is we do hrefs. And the reason why we're doing hrefs is basically if you research, and this is a question here that's been in discussion, should you use a nav tag and then should you use like unordered list or with list item and then the nav tag of the href? So basically like this, there's a list item and then you have here the href and then link, or should you just do it like this? And this will be home and this will be home. One or the other. What do you think? Well, I researched and discovered the following. This is the answer. Both are acceptable. It doesn't matter. So if that is the case, if both are acceptable, then you should ask yourself, do you prefer this to be more organized, or would you like to be just more efficient? If you say this is more organized, use this. If you say that's not organized, this is probably more better because it's just straightforward, go for this. For me, based on if both will not matter, then I always ask myself, can I remove that? If I can remove it, and the answer in this case is yes, bam, bye-bye. So then, fine, we can use this. Why would you put more code unless it's necessary to elaborate it? But if it's not, no need. Just then you can just do like this, and that's fine as well. All right, so we have here five links in total. So I would say here savings account, savings account. This will be about us, contact us, and this could be sign in. All right, so that's basically it. We have these things here. I would say here this is a class navigation. And what we're going to do here now, I'm going to save this here. We're going to work on our CSS, and then here we're going to make a very straightforward menu bar. This is desktop. I will not build mobile responsive for now. It'll just be a desktop item. And if you want my mobile responsive, I have different videos for that as well. You can check my other videos regarding to this. So we say here class navigation, and then we start to explore this. So we say here the section will be a flex box. So this will be display. Then we say here flex and flex, and then we have here justified content, and justified content we say here the same story here will be because we want to have the icon here, and the other side we want to have the text. So if I refresh right now, this is it. All right, so we say here the icon, justified content, this would be space between. All right, so we have that, and then we have here align items center. So we put them all in the center, save this, refresh. There you are. You can see here exactly. All right, it does work. Then what I want to do is the following. This is what I want to do here now is I want to give this a background color. Then we say here var. Going to put in our color here. I'm going to use this. Save this, refresh. Alright. Padding of 20 pixels will be fine. So we have some nice decent look here. There you are, 20 pixels. It will be nice center and left and right properly. Alright, so now we're done here. The next item is here to work with the href, give it some design, and then work with the before and afters. Alright, so what we're going to do here first of all is we're going to say here the href, and then what I'm going to do here is I will say the nav dot navigation class, yes, navigation, and then here we should also have the href, and then here this bracket. Alright, and then we say here color will be white, or variable color 3 cl number 3. There you are. And then we say here font size will be 20 pixels. We save that. There you are. Text decoration will be none. Just to remove the underline. Once we did that here, we should have maybe some padding. Padding 10 pixels. There you are. So now we have these. That's beautiful. I think that the font size is slightly too big. Let's make this 15 pixels. That's slightly better. Alright, that's more than enough. We can do 16. As these 16 is these days the most standard one. Alright, so we have this here. We can do here the following. Alright, we have this. What I want to do here is as well, I want this icon. This icon should be white. So let's give the logo. As I realize that we didn't give the logo here. Logo. Then we say H for anchor tag, and then img. Y. We have the class here logo. Then we have here H for the anchor tag, and then img. Then we say here filter. We give it a filter, and then we say invert. Bam. And invert. We go to invert basically the color of the image. If we refresh. So make sure you save this. Invert 1. Did I save it properly? Alright, sorry. Logo. Make sure logo is a class logo. Save that. Then refresh. There you are. So you can see now it's invert. But if I drag this image, you can see the image is black. So basically, what invert does is it inverts the color. So what becomes black becomes white. And if it's a white image, it will become black, etc., etc. So now we have this here. We are done here. Let's put in here the before and after to make it a bit more nice. So let's start with a basic of the item here. So we have here a before. And before we always put in 2 columns. Yeah, 2 columns. And the reason why is that this has been set. Well, you might have seen hover. We say 1 column and it's hover. And then you can do A, B, C, whatever you want to do. And this is basically the difference. The hover is what we call a state. A state. So when you are with your mouse over or hover over, it's a state. A focus is a state. But before and after is not a state. What it is basically it's an element class. A class specifically on this one here. So let's put it in here, and then you will see what it is. So we say here this, and then we say your content. And this must, we always have to put in your content, and if you add any content, yes or no, it should always be in here. So right now I'm just going to put in here dot. And then, once we have this here, what we can do here is the following. We can say maybe background. Now I'm going to give it a black background, so we can have here variable, say dash dash color number 2. That's number 2 here, as we stated here before. This is number 2, already saved here. Once we save this, refresh, you can see now the font color is white, but the background color, we'll grab it here, which is basically the color we assign it to. So this is now what we have, and it's a black background color here. Alright, so what we want to do here, so maybe, because right now this here, to understand what's going on here, we need to look here what's going on with the text here. So if we click on this, you can see here, and if you open up one, we can see now the before. The before is here, and then we have here the specific text. You can see when we click on it, it says text here. It says hashtag text, but it's not a class. So remember that it's not a specific class. It's just related to this. It's just trying to indicate this is the text part of your href. So this is still within the href. If you look at this here, the auto, and if you let's give it a padding here. By clicking on this, and then you go to compute it, you will see the padding here around it. As you can see, the before is still a part of the href content box. This is the content box here, and you can see once I hover over the content box, it's selecting everything within the before, the text, and of course if we would have any after values as well. So let's put in the after as well. So I'm going to copy this and I say after, and I say here after. If I save this and refresh, you can see here now it becomes very messy, but basically it's the same thing here. Home or the dot home after. There you are. So it shows everything is within here. The padding covers completely everything, including the before and the after. So as you can see here. So imagine you want to have like a line when you hover over here. How can we do this? So how can we play around with this? And specifically, how can we give this a proper layout? So to understand this, we need to look here right now what we have here. So if I click here on the href here, the anchor tag, this is probably, if I'm not mistaken, this is a flex box, so it should become a block itself. So we can check here in the computed and you look for the display and let's see what happens. We go to display, oh, letter T. Here you are. Oh, alright, this is inline. So we have here the inline. And if you click here on this computed, we have here as well an inline. The content is here. And we are here, another inline. So if you want to have a full width, let's say here, because right now we have just a padding here, and we have this, because I can imagine we want to have like a color on top of it or something, then we need to have here the full width, but the full width here, we do width 100%, assuming that you will get the full size of whatever is in the anchor tag. It won't work here. As you can see here, it doesn't work at all. And if we just remove the dot, it says we don't want any dot, we just want the color, nothing else. It doesn't work. The reason why it doesn't work is two things. First of all, we need to assign a height eventually. Right now the height is default on the text because we are inline. Inline means that it will get the size or the height basically what's right now here based on the text here. However, the width is same. The width will be based on how many characters of the content. That's this here. So if you have nothing here, this 100% width is 100% of nothing, which doesn't work. So what we want to do is here, we say here display, we make this a block, because inline doesn't respect height and width, because it will get from the content. If there's no content, it cannot get it. So now if we do this, we save this and refresh, you will see still it doesn't work really. They just do something, but of course this is not what we want here right now. So you can see here, they're just doing something here. This is a block, but it's a mess here. There's no height, nothing at all. So what we're going to do here is adjust this again. So how do we adjust this? Well, we say here width, we say height 2 pixels. And now if we do this and refresh, you can see now we start to have something here. Of course, we're breaking slightly the design here. The reason why the block is starting to break it, which is all right because we can reassign this as well more. We have to go here in the navigation. And in the navigation, we need to make a flex design. So that's what we're going to do. We have the nav tag here. That's this one. If we go back here to our HTML, this nav.class. And here, we're going to assign now a navigation. And then in here, we say display flex. And then we say here, basically the same here. We can just copy all of these, except for this justified content should be center. Save that, refresh. Alright, that looks better. As you can see now it looks better. Let's remove the after because right now the width is 100% of whatever it is. And we see here the after text, we grabbed it as well. We don't want this. But what we do want here is the same story. We're going to get the width, height, and block of 2. Alright, we save this, refresh. There we are. So now it starts to look nice. And I can imagine you say, well, I don't want the upper one here. Let's remove that. And so we have this now. But what we want to do is the moment we hover over, this should become a line that's visible. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, I want to make this, reset this to a white color, which is number 3. Refresh. And then what we want to do is the following. Because what we're going to do is we're going to create a hover. If we hover, how will we put in a hover effect? And where should we put it in? Should we put it in the hover and then a hover? Or should we do like this and then after and then a after, and then hover. Do you have an idea? Well, let me show you exactly how we're going to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do navigation. Then we say A, and then we have the state. So what we're going to do is really, the moment, how will we trigger it? The moment we hover over the anchor tag, not the before or after, because the before and after you cannot really hover over it. Why? Because just look at it. If we select this part here, if you look at the padding, the moment we hover over this here, then it will be triggered. But this here is basically down here, we should be hovering over this. However, this is still a part of the anchor tag that I showed you. This is the content box. So if you hover over the content box, which contains the before, the text that we have here, as you can see here, the text, the before, and the after, that's basically the anchor tag. So everything in the anchor tag is the hover effect. So we say here hover, and then we say after. So when we hover over the anchor tag, we should trigger a certain after effect. Alright, so we're going to do this. Where can we put it? Well, you can put it basically up here. You can put it down, depends. I like to put it here up because we have the state of hover of the href, and then we pinpoint after. Alright, so we do this, and then what we're going to do here is, for example, then we're going to copy. We can copy basically all of this here. We can say here height this, the width 100% as well, because what we want to do is we want to have this fully. All right. What we're going to do here is basically 0. And the reason why we do that 0 is when we save this and refresh, we don't want to show it, but the moment we are on top of it, then we have our nice hover effect, as you can see here. Beautiful. But do we want this? Well, the answer is no. We want to see it sliding. The moment we are on here, we're going to have a hover. All right. Or that we have the sliding come from the left, the very left, and then slides it as I make that sound, basically slide it from left to right. So what we're going to do here, so we have here the width is 0. Then what we can do is the following. We're going to indicate here a transition. Or a transition, and the transition is 0.5 seconds. And what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to do in the hover after, and then we say here transform. And then we say here transform. So after some checking, I realized we need to not have transition here, remove transform there, and just put transition there. So basically we want the transition from the hovering. The moment we hover, it transitions gradually from 0.5 seconds into, from a width of, well, we can probably just move this up here, that makes more sense. From a width of 0 pixels up to 100%. So if we save this, we start to refresh, and now you can see we have this nice transitioning effect here, where it will just gradually extend as we go. So we can do exactly the same for the before. So if we do this, you could copy this. Now we can say here the width 0 pixels, and the moment we have a hover effect, we can say navigation A, and then we say here hover, and then double colon before. And when there's a before, we can basically get almost everything what we had already before here. You can just copy all of this, and this will be navigation. Make sure you spell it correctly. Did I spell it correctly there? Yes. Alright. So we've got this here. We say before was had background color of 2. Fair enough. We can copy this. Save that. Refresh. And now if you do this, we have like a nice double design here. And this is quite nice. And you can play around with this a lot. So with this, that's basically how you can do a nice before and after effect here, and giving it a hover with before. Make sure you first put in the state, and that state should get a class of before or after. So basically it's very easy to remember. If you remember here the column, first the single column and then here the double column to show the values. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in Chart.js, check out in the description box the link directing to my Chart.js course where you can learn everything about Chart.js. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.